This video is brought to you by SimplySeattle.com. It's the only place to find the world's largest Seattle Supersonics gear. They have everything you could imagine to celebrate the Seattle Supersonics. Autographed pieces for the Rainman to boot. Shipping all over the world, so let's keep the Seattle Supersonics dream alive at SimplySeattle.com.
Hey, this is Shawn Kemp, and you're checking out the Basketball Time Machine with Shawn David.
Hello and good day everyone, how's it going? I'm Shawn David, welcome back to the show, thanks for tuning in. In today's episode, we got a true NBA legend, the Rayman, Shawn Kemp. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. How you doing, Shawn?
Can't complain. Shawn, I wanted to have a look back at your incredible NBA career, but I also wanted to start this interview off with a question that was a little bit before your NBA career. I wanted to know, who was your favorite player when you were a kid?
Oh, man, growing up, obviously I liked the game. I liked a lot of different players, but I think, the one player that probably stood out to me the most would be just Dr. J.
I knew it.
J. Yeah, Dr. J. I think at that time in that era, Dr. J represented what we were hoping for in life, which was hope and the ability to do lots of dunks.
Yeah. I can see that. Now, I was wondering, when you were drafted back in the days, what was going through your mind when you realized that you finally made it to the NBA?
Well, man, when I finally made it to the NBA, what was going through my mind is that this one, and I'll tell you real fast, it's I looked at the team's roster the day I got drafted by Seattle Supersonics. I looked at the team roster and I realized I was the 12th man out of 12 men. So, I knew then I had a lot to learn, and it was just going to be a lot of hard work. So, the one thing that I realized is that I wasn't ready to play in the NBA quite yet, but with hard work, I would be able to play real fast.
Now, obviously, becoming an NBA player was probably one of your dreams too. And then your rookie season, all of a sudden, you're on the same floor as a Magic Johnson, as a Michael Jordan. I was wondering, were you nervous in your first NBA games, playing against those kind of legends?
Not necessarily nervous, but the one thing you have to mention is this, growing up in Indiana, I was pretty well known at that point for basketball. So I somewhat had a little bit of experience of playing against the pros. I had played against Magic Johnson before. I grew up from an area that another good player from the 90s is from, Scott Skiles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so Scott Skiles is generally from my area. So when Scott Skiles was at Michigan State, he would come back home and take me to some of these places and play with some of these older gentlemen. And I was years younger than Scott, but he thought a lot of me to be able to do this. So having the experience to see some of those pros like Magic Johnson, so I wasn't as shell-shocked maybe as some people would have been. But definitely, as the game starts playing and you see some of these guys do some of these fantastic plays out there on the court, you get caught up in the moment sometimes watching.
Was there any specific player that you were nervous about playing against? And I don't want to say nervous, but anyone you were looking forward to playing against?
Yeah, absolutely. One guy I was looking forward to play against was Moses Malone.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Moses Malone, man. He was, another guy who came from high school to the pros. But also, I will tell you this, Moses was a great player. I was looking forward to playing against him. He maybe wasn't the best player at that time, but I definitely had a lot of respect and look forward to playing against him at that time. Back then in the early 90s, the guys that I looked up to was pretty much all-star guys at that time. Karl Malone, Bernard King.
Oh, nice.
Bernard King. So when I start seeing some of those guys out on the court, it sends chills down your spine because you've watched them on TV, but you haven't met them, you haven't played against them, and now you're having to guard some of these guys. So it's definitely a learning curve, man. And you do it with a straight face, but you're smiling underneath your skin because you're playing with a lot of the greats.
Now, you touched the topic earlier that you like Dr. J for his dunks, for example. Now, since you are a player that is not only remembered for his incredible dunks, but also remembered because of his incredible dunks, do you remember who or in what game you had your first NBA dunk?
Yeah, my first, I was told to tone it down a little bit on my dunks when I first got into the NBA because they didn't want too much ketchup, they didn't want too much mustard. So coach was basically like, tone it down a little bit. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything that's going to embarrass yourself. So I actually waited for a while. I didn't get a dunk for about 2 or 3 weeks into the season, but my first big dunk really came in New York when we played at the Garden.
Oh, are we talking about the pump?
The double pump dunk.
Ooh.
That was like one of my first big dunks. Matter of fact, I can tell you this. That one dunk led to 43 dunks in the next 30 days.
So you were counting. I was wondering. but man, if that New York dunk was one of your first dunks, that was some sort of introduction.
Absolutely. You couldn't have picked a better place to do it at other than the Garden.
Nice. Now, you touched the topic earlier that you had a hard time in your rookie season. Obviously, you didn't play in college. You came to the NBA. You were super young, and all of a sudden, you're on the same floor as those grown men in a league where age was something good and positive. How tough was it for you to accept the role, coming off the bench, being patient, waiting for your turn? How tough was that for you as a young person?
As a young guy, man, it was pretty easy to accept. I mean, there's so much going on, but then all of a sudden you get the vibe of you just want to be out there on the court playing. So you generally go through a learning education process of trying to learn the procedures of what these guys do. But then watching a game, you say to yourself, man, I'd rather be on that court than sitting on the sideline playing. So then you realize, you say, I got to do something good. There's something good I got to learn how to do really good. And, it's up to each individual. But for myself, I just took the assistant coaches and we just worked on everything from shooting, from footwork, from my body getting stronger to me finishing off plays even better. The one thing that I never wanted to be known for is just dunks.
Yes.
So it was important for me to be able to show people that I could do pretty much everything on a basketball court: dribble, pass, for a big man, and at that time that was a little bit unusual. At that time, most big men just kind of block shots, rebound, played their role. So, I feel pretty good by the transformation of the big man. Hopefully I had something to do with that because at one time in the NBA, it was really the big man didn't get a chance to dribble. The big man didn't get a chance to shoot threes or any of that. It took guys like myself, I think, to really convince people that the big man have enough athletic ability to do some of those things and do it very well.
Yeah. Well, back in the days, obviously, big man, the priority was something else. But I never thought of you as a one-dimensional player. The one thing that I've always found that was a little bit underrated, actually, you were an incredible mid-range shooter, and I saw that in your second season. I mean, I did a lot of research. Your second season was also your sort of coming out year. You were averaging 15 points, 8 rebounds, and you had a nice stroke from mid-range. And I feel that this needs to be highlighted because, you were dangerous from there. They couldn't give you any space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you ask me the one thing that I took great pride in on a basketball court, I would definitely say my mid-range game. To be able to shoot the ball anywhere from 18 feet on in is something that you just don't see, even in today's game.
Oh, yes.
Today's game, the best mid-range shooter is probably Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
He's probably the best mid-range game. So my game would revolve a lot around his, which you finding shots and trick shots and things like that around the basket. not stretching it out to the three-point line, but being able to be, shoot a high percentage of volume of shots anywhere from 18 feet on in.
Now, since we're talking about shooting, I have two questions marked with red capital letters. I had to squeeze that questions in somewhere. So, you're from Indiana, and there's also another great shooter also from Indiana. I know that you know who I'm talking about, Larry Bird. I read some funny things on the internet, and I had to ask you if it's true. Did Larry Bird trash talk you and put a lot of noise into your ears?
Of course, Larry Bird trash talked me, put a lot of noise in my ear. That's what he was supposed to do. Here you have this young kid coming up trying to be the next best thing out of Indiana. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He trash talked me to death. He told me exactly what he was going to do to me before the game started. Then he went out and he did exactly what he told me he was going to do, which was about 42 points in 3 quarters.
Yeah, that was a mean game. That was a mean game.
True introduction to the NBA.
But it's also very unfair because he played against you when you were in your baby shoes, and you guys never played against each other when you were in your prime. And I'm pretty sure if you guys would have been at the same age, it could have been a really, really interesting battle.
Yeah, definitely. The way that worked was like this. The first year that I played against Larry Bird, he scored 40 points on me in 3 quarters. It bothered me so bad that I actually took a picture of him and put it in my bathroom.
No way.
And every morning I would get up just to look at him. The next year that we played Larry Bird, we played the Boston Celtics, it was here in Seattle. We played him at the Kingdom. So I told the team, I said, well, I'm going to give him back what he did to me. So I ended up having 16 dunks that game. I wouldn't even shoot a jump shot. Everything I would do would just be a dunk.
Did you say 16?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, halfway during the game, Larry Bird said something to me that stuck with me forever. And I still tease him about this when I see it. He told me, he says, I think I'm ready for retirement.
You got to be...
Of course he was ready, man. It was a little comeback, a little get back at me. So, I think that back then it was, we took things pretty serious. When a guy was able to score a lot of points on you, 40 points or 35 points, you really took that personal. At the time in the 90s, the NBA was really a defensive-driven league.
Yes.
Guys who played very good defense really got a lot of respect. Guys like Dennis and Carl and these guys were very, very physical. Throughout the years, the NBA has become an offensive league now.
Yeah.
You're naturally used to seeing these guys score 40 and 50 points. But at one time, it really wasn't like that. And when a guy did score that many points on you, you really took it personal and tried to do something about it.